I have seen countless reviews. People feel specific ways about this movie. Some people enjoyed it, some people didn't. Everybody has their individual criticisms over the movie. I went into this movie thinking to myself, okay, I'm probably not going to enjoy this. There's a lot of people I trust. I watch their reviews, and this just goes to show you sometimes a person that you genuinely and generally trust when it comes to their opinion and what you like or don't like, because you guys seem to be similar, you can still disagree. It won't be 100%. I I wonder, and I've said this before, with both Marvel and DC, there has been so much fan capital that has been lost that people are willing and ready to jump on anything. Like if there's anything that is not liked, it's going to be the whole thing is trash. And I wonder if that's the point we're getting to with cinema when it comes to Marvel and DC movies. So, the short and sweet, this is a good Superman movie. It's an enjoyable movie. I'm not going to tell you that you're going to leave the movie theater and it's going to be the most groundbreaking thing you've ever seen. And I have something to say about that. I think movies are so good and some movies are so fantastic that sometimes every movie is held to that fantastic standard. And I don't think that's fair. Every movie can't be absolutely groundbreaking and fantastic. I don't think that's possible. I mean, obviously it could happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I think this movie delivered on everything I wanted to see in a Superman movie. Okay, so some of the criticisms I heard about the movie that I don't agree with. I've heard that the movie was all over the place. I disagree. I think if you're going into this movie expecting it to be like other superhero movies you have seen, you might think to yourself it is all over the place. But I think what was done in this movie is skip all of the origin stories. Skip all of the buildup of characters that, let's say you're not as familiar with. We're going to get you right to the meat and potatoes from a fresh start. I feel like this is Superman just coming into his own, just really starting to do his Superman thing. And then you have some of his friends along for the ride. And I didn't mind that. If the other superhero movies before this were movies created for the masses that comic book people will love, then this movie is created for comic book lovers that everybody will love. I don't know if I said that right. Yeah, so originally, it seems like a lot of the original superhero films were created in such a way that everybody would love it and comic book fans would be satisfied. This was created for comic book fans who will love it and everybody else will be satisfied. Right? Like, now I'm not telling you that doesn't mean that every single thing done was exactly like comic books. One, I'm not as familiar with DC, but I know enough to know that many of the things that I saw was actually decently accurate to comic book lore. Obviously, things have to be changed for the silver screen, and I've brought this up before. But I wanted to go over some things that I loved about this movie and the way it was sold. Okay, so first of all, the trailers did this movie no justice. And part of me wonders if that was on purpose. And here's why. I wonder if what Gunn was going for, undersell with the trailers, get people like me to go see the movie. And I I had a lot of hesitations going into this movie. And I will be honest with you. 5 minutes in, 5 minutes in, I was like, I think I'm beginning to like this already, which is odd. I expected the movie to have to really reel me in. And it was the movie. Let me just get into some things I wanted to discuss on the movie. Okay, so Krypto. I heard people say that Krypto detracted from the story. I disagree. Okay, there's going to be spoilers all through this. I don't know how deep I'm going to go with the spoilers, but I'm just letting you know right now, there'll be spoilers through this whole thing. Krypto led you to Supergirl at the end of the movie. And the actress they got for Supergirl, I was like, huh. And the way in which she acted, I was like, huh. This works. Krypto didn't make the movie goofy. Like, not at all. Oh, by the way, I'm not a Superman guy. I am not a Superman guy, but I saw this Superman cup in the theater and I said to myself, you know what? This is before I went in. I was like, I don't know why I want to buy this cup. Something tells me I'm actually going to enjoy this movie. I'm buying this cup. So I bought that Superman cup. Okay. Krypto did not make the movie feel goofy at all. The way Krypto was used, I was like, if I was going to write a script, or if I thought up Krypto being in a movie, that's how it would have been done. Personally. And again, this is another one of those scenarios where the trailer kind of was misleading a little bit. In a lot of ways, the trailer was misleading. And another thing I noticed, there's a scene, and we've seen the scene where you got Superman sitting across from Lois Lane. And the funny thing is, in the trailers, that scene seems more, it is serious, but because of what you see outside the window, it seems more serious. But it's actually not. And the thing is, the way James Gunn does movies, because I primarily know him from Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad, those movies had really goofy moments in them, but it worked. For those movies, it worked. And I was wondering, okay, is he going to do this on Superman? Because I don't really want to see a super goofy Superman. And it wasn't. All of the comedic lines fell at the right place. There is, and it's a little vulgar, so I'm going to let you know right now. There is a scene toward the end of the movie where a Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Metamorpho come in to save. There's two countries at war. The movie's kind of based around that loosely. And Lex Luthor, some of the things I heard. Look, I am not a professionally trained movie critic. I'm not a theater kid. I don't know all of the theater jargon. I know what I like and what I enjoy. I view movies as a person that's just going to enjoy a movie. I know there's some reviewers that, or, some people who talk about comics or what have you on the internet, they go into movies with like a critic's mind. And all of us are critics to some degree. But I've just managed to go into certain movies and just enjoy the movie for what it is. This is why another example of this was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think that movie gets a bad rap. And I think it was good. That movie actually made me believe that Kang the Conqueror was a big menacing bad that may be even worse than Thanos in the MCU. And I was looking forward to that. I was kind of saddened to see, what happened, how everything played out with that. But, it is what it is. Life happens. But yeah, okay, so they're going to save this country while Superman is off, with his own battle. He calls them in, and Green Lantern, Guy Gardner, he destroys these tanks and up armored vehicles, and he uses the ring, the Green Lantern ring, and he produces hands that come up like a fist, and then a middle finger comes out and blows away all of these vehicles. It was actually funny. Like, comedic things like that fell at the right time. And I was like, I am not mad at this. I am not mad at this at all. But anyway, back to Krypto. Krypto did not make the movie bad. You find out that Superman was watching Krypto for his cousin, Supergirl, and she comes back at the end of the movie. And I was like, yo, oh, and it just fit. It fit. I don't know how James Gunn, his comedic timing with movies like this, and I will reiterate this, and I will probably state this several times through this review. I went in fully convinced that I was going to hate this movie. But the one thing I always say, no matter what I've seen from reviewers, I'm going to give this movie an honest chance. I'm going to watch this movie and let the movie be judged on its own merits, not what other people said it was or was not supposed to be. And I'll be honest with you, I also think because people are slighted, again, Marvel and DC, they've done themselves no favors. They've lost fan capital. But I think people, I hate to say this, but I think to some degree people are addicted to hate. If you see one thing in a movie you don't like, you categorize the whole movie in that way. And I think that's what I'm beginning to see happen. Like, if there is one thing off kilter, it's like, I cannot like the movie. And I think there are some slighted fans that are now, to some degree, afraid to say they like the movie if a bunch of people didn't like it. I saw one reviewer that said, and I mean, this could be true. He said in his algorithm, he's seeing a bunch of people come out saying they like the movie, and it might be some, algorithm thing going on, and that's why he keeps seeing that. I'm now convinced it's because people are going into this movie. There are people who are genuinely going into this movie thinking they're not going to like it. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Okay. James Gunn, you delivered an enjoyable movie. This movie is by no means a flop. By no means. Even if it doesn't make gobs of money, the movie was done well. Okay, that was one thing. Krypto, especially when Supergirl was introduced, I was like, oh, I kind of like this. Okay, Mr. Terrific, mark of a good movie. This from a comic book guy. I am not a DC guy. I love Batman, but I'm not a DC guy, and I've always said this. I don't know much about Mr. Terrific. I watched the CW Arrowverse, Flash, and all of those. What was the other one? Man, I can't remember that other CW DC show. But I watched all of it. The only one I didn't watch was, oh my goodness, why can't I think of the name of this show? Oh, anyway, it'll come to me later. Mr. Terrific was in those shows, but the character, it just wasn't done well. So I never really got into the Mr. Terrific character. I've seen some books, but I'm just like, Mr. Terrific was done so well. I would say he stole the show, but he didn't really steal the show. He just really added to the movie. Acted very well. When I got done, I was like, yo, I need to go find some Mr. Terrific comic books and comic books that he's featured in. I need to know more about his character. As I was watching the genius of Mr. Terrific, he's kind of, his character is kind of vocally autistic, if you know what I mean. I was like, yo, I think I like this dude better than Tony Stark. Like, as a genius, I like him better than Tony Stark. When you walk out the theater as a comic book guy and think to yourself, yo, I got to go through some of the back issues and find some issues, some Mr. Terrific comic books and comic books that he's in. I need to explore this character. James Gunn did a good job. He did a good job. A character that I had zero interest in before this movie, I'm now actively saying the next time I'm in the comic book store, I will purposely go out of my way to find comic books with Mr. Terrific. I need to know more about this character. And I understand watching a movie like this, from what my youngest son was telling me, he's more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. So we trade ideas sometime when we're talking comic books because he knows more about DC. I know more about Marvel. And, we're talking about a lot of these things, and I can understand the appeal of DC. Seeing a character like that, like if from what my son was telling me about his character, the way he's depicted in this movie is how he is in the comic books as far as his genius. And I was like, oh, I am sold. I am now interested and invested in this character now. That's, to me, a mark of a good movie. If I had to say, okay, Guy Gardner. I think I did an origin. Did I ever post it? I might have. I posted so many videos. I think I did an origin of the Green Lantern or Guy Gardner or something like that. Anyway, I have to look through my videos. You post a lot of videos when you don't know what you posted. I need to create an Excel spreadsheet or something with a list of all the videos I've done. Anyway, Guy Gardner's character, from what I've researched about his character, because I'm not super familiar with Green Lantern, or I wasn't months ago, but I've done a bunch of research about his character. Guy Gardner actually feels like, from the research I've done, I was like, yo, this is kind of how the comic book portrayed him. He was, okay, so this is what I wrote down. I wrote this down in my notes. Guy Gardner's character was very good at being who he was designed to be. The lovable jerk who provides comedic relief at the necessary times. And that's the big deal. When you have a movie like this that is aiming to please, you can't really have those comedic things fall at the wrong time. And I honestly don't think they did. This is what I thought when I came out the theater. I thought, okay, I know my likes and dislikes are niche. I know I'm willing more to give the benefit of the doubt than most people sometimes. But when I left the theater, I said to myself, I don't know what movie some of the critics who really blasted this were watching, but the movie I just watched was good and enjoyable. Like, really enjoyable, fun to watch. So much so, my daughter originally didn't want to go see it, and I started describing her, the movie, and she was like, Dad, I might go see this tomorrow. I said, I'll go see it with you again. I would not be surprised if this movie, on word of mouth, actually does well. And honestly, I think it should. If we don't reward good movies when they are done, when they are enjoyable, then eventually, I guess, sometimes I think people have a destruction mindset. Like, it's cathartic. Like, let's just see it all torn down. I'm not like that. It doesn't have to be torn down. I do want there to be corrections in comic books and comic book media. And I think there is little signs. I'm not going to say we're back. I'm not going to say that. But I think there are little signs showing that, there's a beating heart. We can break out the defibrillator and revive this thing. Or we can just let it die. I don't think the proper thing is to let it die, in my opinion. But Guy Gardner did good. Hawkgirl. I heard some complaints about Hawkgirl mainly because some people said she felt like an afterthought. Now, though her character wasn't well explored in this movie, I think her acting was good, and I think it left room for people to find out more about her character. And I think this was actually a good thing to do. Hawkgirl, I'm not going to say she's not a widely known character because I'm not a DC guy like that. But I would say of all of the characters that should have played the background, that was the right choice. Because what it did, it left room for that character to grow and become a character that people now love and grow to love. I'll give you an example. And this is coming from a Marvel guy. I'm not saying that Scarlet Witch is a bad character and a character that I didn't like, but I just reading, Marvel comic books, and Black Widow, another one. Great characters, but they just weren't characters that I really focused on, right? So if they were in a movie and they weren't heavily focused on, and then they became, more of an interest, like I would say with the Marvel movies, Black Widow was kind of focused on from the get-go, but she wasn't like heavily focused on. And then as the movies progressed, her character had room to grow. So did Scarlet Witch. Now she was focused on a little more, which is why I brought in the Black Widow character. But I think James Gunn left room for Hawkgirl to be explored more. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think her acting was done bad. And I don't think her character took from the movie. Look, again, I am not a super theater kid movie critic. I just have likes and dislikes. I may have novice eyes and novice ears. And some people might say, oh, you're bugging. What did you see? I'm telling you what I enjoyed. This is what I saw. This feels, and there's, again, some notes I wanted to write down because I wanted to capture these thoughts so I could, kind of give you as concise as possible just coming out the theater. This feels much like a movie that skips origin. We all know, and gets to Superman and gets Superman to his first steps as what we will come to know as the Man of Steel. This is him starting out. And that's the idea I got. And here's another thing I thought as I was watching this. I think the Batman can actually fit in this universe because of how they did that first, the Batman as like a year 1, year 2 Batman. He's just figuring it out. I think he could actually fit in this timeline. And I think that would actually work. I think it would work very well in my humble opinion. That's just my humble opinion. But overall, this movie, Lex Luthor, let's talk about Lex Luthor. Now, I've seen some reviews, and some of the reviews look, don't take my praise as there's no critique to be had for this movie. That's not the point. The point is, I'm just telling you what I enjoyed. Lex Luthor was menacing. And I've seen critiques about Superman being beat up and struggling, but then I thought to myself, do you think Superman had all of the skills he had when he first started to be able to just go in, blazing, running roughshod over people? No. And the enemy that was framed, there's some things I'll hold back. The enemy that was crafted by Lex Luthor was actually genius. Super genius. And Lex Luthor felt like a true menace that's going to be a huge problem because he is going to bring in other problems. And that's as far as I'll go with that. I won't go full spoil every single thing, but that Lex Luthor's character was a good. Initially, I was like, "Yo, why they pick Lex Luthor? They could have went with somebody else for the bad guy in this movie." But because of the other supporting cast, I was like, "No, Lex Luthor is this actually works very well." David Corenswet is Superman. The dude is Superman. He did Clark Kent very well. He did Superman very well. His relationship with Lois Lane, another character that was done well. There were so many characters that had specific things that were done well. Like somebody said the movie felt like it was all over the place. I literally did not feel like that. I personally, everybody else might feel like that. And I'm not saying that's invalid. I'm saying my demeanor, the way I consumed the movie, it did not feel like it was all over the place to me. I understood why they spent some time on this character, giving you enough, exploring this character right here, giving you enough. I'm like, James Gunn decided to not do exactly as Marvel did when they were building the MCU. And this is something, again, I have to give my youngest son credit. These are things that he mentioned months ago, and he was absolutely correct. James Gunn said, I saw what Marvel did and it worked, but I'm not going to copy them verbatim. I'm going to jump off from another point. I'm going to skip the years of building on certain things because these are characters that people already know. I'm going to get right to it, and then we will build around that. It worked. It worked. The dude delivered. The dude delivered. If I did not feel like he delivered, I would not be saying this. If I did not like the movie, you would not even see me talking about this right now. But I think this is a movie that deserves to be watched on the big screen, and I think it is enjoyable. I wish they would have released it on the 4th of July. I would have preferred Truth, Justice, and the American Way, but I get it. Things change. I'm not going to complain and bemoan that. And I know that is a big contention for most people. And I don't like the fact that that wasn't in a movie, but that doesn't mean the movie is not and was not enjoyable, because it definitely is.